From the KDLM studios in Detroit Lakes, it's Hodge Podge with Carol McCarthy, presented by Partnership for Health and now airing on TV3.
From Partnership for Health, I've got Jason McCoy in the studio. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning, Carol.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about. Your realm of experience is working with tobacco cessation, and we're going to get to more on that. The T21 campaign. Also, we'll talk about vaping, which is in news everywhere these days. But first, we've got a couple other items of business that Partnership for Health is working on, and it's coming quickly. We were talking about this a couple months ago even, but International Walk to School Day is already just around the corner next week. Right.
It's hard to believe that we're almost a month into school already.
Yes.
So, yes, International for School Day. That's October 2nd, coming up really quick here. Just to give you some information for Detroit Lakes parents, Detroit Lakes schools are participating on October 2nd. And we want to encourage you to think about ways that you can drop your kids off maybe a couple of blocks away, have them walk in, or even ride their bike if they want to. But we just want to let you know that we are participating in this and that we would really encourage you to get your kids out and be active. It helps them have a great day at school and encourages learning.
All right. Very good. I know that we've been participating in this for quite some time, and it is nice. And we've actually celebrated some of the safe routes to schools. We've got new sidewalks installed around the area, so it's even easier to walk to school.
Absolutely.
Or walk a few blocks, park and walk. All right. And also something going on, another organization that Partnership for Health partners with is Manna Food Co-op. And there are some meal kits out there that you want to tell us a little bit more about.
Absolutely. So Manna Food Co-op have been one of our partners, and we just celebrate the fact that they're bringing healthy food into the community. And so we wanted to let you know that they're offering some indigenous meal kits for the fall months in cooperation with a grant that they received from WCI, that's West Central Initiative. And so coming up, sounds really good. There's a wild rice and chicken meal that'll be available on October 1st. That's actually my birthday, so, celebrate that too. But you need to pre-order the meal so they can have them ready for you. And so if you could have them ordered on their website and prepaid by September 29th, they can be made available to serve either 2 or 4 people. So however many you would like to feed, you just let them know. And what you want to do is just go on their website to order these. And their website is really easy. It's just mannafoodcoop.com. And then if you do a /traditional, you'll find where you can order those meal kits.
Cool. Yes. I think they had one the other week. It was wild rice pancakes and all that. And I went in and bought some of that flour so I could make some pancakes. So that's good stuff going on in our area, keeping us healthy and getting us out there and active. Partnership for Health works in 4 counties, Becker, Otter Tail, Wilkin, and Clay counties. And Jason McCoy is here with us in the studio this morning. And one of your wheelhouse, I guess, to put it, is with tobacco cessation.
Yes.
Although you work in the whole conglomerate of Partnership for Health, but your main focus is tobacco cessation. You've been working with counties on the Tobacco 21 ordinances and getting the age to purchase tobacco changed from 18 to 21.
Yes.
And I know we've got a number of those counties that you work with are on board. And how are we doing with that?
We are halfway there.
Okay.
Otter Tail County, of course, passed last year. This summer, Wilkin County passed Tobacco 21, and they implemented on September 1st. So, of course, right in time for school. And then Fergus Falls just updated their ordinance as well to match the county. So that was exciting to see. And we have others that are starting to look at it. Nothing that we can really talk about yet, but there are a lot of our city council and county commissioners looking at what we can do about this vaping epidemic in our schools.
Mm-hmm. All right. And so now there are, 45 Tobacco 21 ordinances?
Yes.
And that's cities and counties?
Cities
combined?
and counties,
okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy when you think about at the beginning of this year, as of January, there's only about 19 that had passed. So most of that has actually happened this year.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, with your work in our communities in our 4-county area, is it easier to get a city to pass it or a county to pass it? And I don't want to say, easier, kind of a tongue-in-cheek, but is it, I don't know, what's been your experience working with cities as opposed to counties?
I would say so far, a lot of times it's been the county, because the county commissioner generally looks at the overall well-being of everyone inside the county. And so they have more of a big picture sense. Sometimes our city council, we're very concerned with business inside our cities. And so we're afraid of what might impact that business. And so selling health doesn't always work as easily. But I'd say that we have a lot of great city and county commissioners in our region that are actually really interested in what we can do for youth health.
All right. Is that going to come up anytime soon on Detroit Lake City Council?
I hope so.
Okay, good answer. All right, Jason McCoy from Partnership for Health in the studio with us this morning, and we're talking about the T21 ordinance, the push to get the age to purchase tobacco from 18 to 21, and going into the legislature last year, there was quite a bit of debate about it, and I think it made some good headway. And do we see this as something that the state is going to take on as a state and push this and approve something like this statewide, so the counties and the cities really don't have to deal with this?
We are really, it's one of our goals as a state coalition, the Minnesotans for a Smoke-Free Generation. We are going to go back and try to get Tobacco 21 passed again this year. You are correct. We went really far last year. The House approved it. And when in the Senate, we made it as far as the Judiciary Committee, and that's where we kind of stalled out at the end. So we're hoping that we can see it go further. Something interesting to put on the radar is that with all of this work going on, there's a real attention to the flavored tobacco. So all vapes that our kids are using are flavored. And so it's in the national news daily about what these flavors can do. And we know that there's already interest at our state Senate about what we can do about flavors. So don't be surprised if you see a bill crop up that is around the idea of restricting or banning flavored tobacco.
All right. Jason McCoy in the studio with us this morning from Partnership for Health. And we have mentioned vaping a number of times because this actually has been going on for a while, not around as long as tobacco products in the traditional sense of the word. But, we've been talking about this. And when, in fact, you were presenting at the council meeting for the T21, of course, vaping, people from that side came and talked about how, it's a way to quit smoking and all the good things about it. But as the months have progressed here, we're learning more about the dangers, very dangerous for our young people and old alike, but mostly targeting the youth these days. And we're hearing some of these stories about kids becoming sick, and even we've had some deaths now associated with vaping. And we're going to continue our conversation with Jason McCoy after a quick break on Hodge Podge.
Now, back to Hodge Podge with Carol McCarthy on KDLM Detroit Lakes.
Welcome back to Hodge Podge, this 25th day of September 2019. Back in the studio with Jason McCoy from Partnership for Health. And continuing our conversation, of course, Jason works with tobacco cessation in four-county area, Becker, Otter Tail, Wilkin, and Clay counties. And around the state, he's advocated for this as well down at the state legislature. But Jason, before the break, we were talking about Tobacco 21 and, of course, smoking in the traditional sense. But now we are working and we're dealing with vaping. Vaping is quite new to the scene, relatively speaking, about tobacco products. But, early on, it was kind of a form of getting off the smoke tobacco. So it was kind of smokeless tobacco marketed as. But now we're seeing this devastating condition for these kids, especially that are coming down with pneumonia-like conditions and in the hospital, and some people have died from vaping. So what do we know? What's on the table as far as vaping goes? What do we know these days about vaping? Maybe first describe what vaping is for people who may not know exactly what it is.
Absolutely. So vaping is the use of an aerosol product to inhale nicotine and flavors, as opposed to a combustible cigarette, which has to be lit on fire with a lighter or a match or something like that. And so what you do gain in the process is that you get rid of the tar that happens from smoking a cigarette and some of the chemicals that are in a cigarette. However, this idea that vaping is safe is not true, because we do know that there are carcinogens still in the flavors. We do know that there are heavy metals and other chemicals that we're still researching, right? Because you're absolutely correct. They've only been around for about 15 years on the U.S. market. So there's a lot of research finding out what's happening. And what we do know, anyone that has paid attention to national news has seen that we have over 530 people who have respiratory disease that have been identified as related to vaping. And at this point in time, there have been, I believe it was a 7th person that has died from this at this point. And this is very important to pay attention to, because when we think about smoking, we think about COPD and lung cancer. We think of that as a kind of a senior disease, right? Not something that a teenager would get. But when we talk about these deaths, more than 16% of them happened under the age of 18. More than half of them happened under the age of 30. So we're talking young people having their lives cut short by this disease, and that it's killing them. Now, it's important because there's some mixed messages out there, and there's this idea that all of these people used a THC, a marijuana product, in their vape, and that's not the case. Some of them have, but some of them only use nicotine in their products as well. So the bottom line is, we don't know yet what it is in the vape that actually caused these deaths. So it's important. Right now, the Center for Disease Control has come out and are urging everyone to stop vaping, because we don't know yet. This is a product that was on the market with no research, with no knowledge of whether it was safe or not. So I would urge you, if you are vaping, if you did it because you thought that you were trying to quit smoking, see someone to try to actually quit getting off nicotine. If you just took up vaping thinking it was safe, pay attention, because this could be something that's going to harm you and land you in the hospital. And we don't want you to be the next person that's on the news as dying.
Well, Jason, do we know where these vaping vials come from? I mean, as recent as today, there was a big bust in Anoka County where they've busted somebody with 75,000 vials or cartridges for vaping. And I know they arrested either earlier this week or later last week a guy in Wisconsin who was selling online, busted him. He was selling these cartridges online, and that, in fact, was one of the instances where these kids are in the hospital. That's where they had purchased this from. But so these people are just mixing chemicals and selling them online, so they don't have any idea, who's mixing these chemicals. They're just getting them in their hands, and voila, what happens? That's
kind of the scary thing. I mean, going back even a couple of years ago, we knew this. Vaping was originally categorized as a supplement. And so anyone, you and I, could have purchased chemicals, gone in your garage, got a big vat, stirred it all up, put it into some kind of container and sold it. And that's what people were doing. And that's what people are still doing. And so, yes, there are Juul and Mark 10, and there's a lot of big companies that have big labs that are making things, but there are little shops and people that are illicitly creating these products that they don't have a tobacco license. It's important to know that these aren't scientists, these aren't chemical engineers, these are just people that are just stirring things together and offering them for sale, and people are buying them. So yeah, they're from all over. Some of them are coming over from China. Some of them are just created right here in our backyards.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we're in the studio this morning with Jason McCoy from Partnership for Health, talking about vaping, this epidemic that's going on right now, people getting sick from vaping products. And, what is being done across the country? I mean, we've got the president saying, he wants to pull all flavored tobacco from the market, and then maybe it's other products from the market. And, where do we stand as a country, as a state? What are other states doing?
Sure. So, yeah, absolutely. First of all, I will say that we applaud the idea that the FDA might pull all flavored tobacco products off the market. That we know flavored tobacco, hands down, is the gateway for kids starting to use. No kid is picking up an unflavored vape and saying, I'm going to try this, or most of them aren't picking up cigarettes anymore. It's all about the flavors. So that we're looking forward to in the next couple of weeks. The FDA should actually be putting out a statement as to what they're actually going to do. So we're watching for that. On state levels, we have the state of New York, Michigan, and just most recently Massachusetts, who have issued a ban on flavored tobacco products, that they won't allow them to be sold in their state, at least temporarily. All of them are anywhere from 6 months to a year. And then we don't have that here in Minnesota going on yet, so that's important to know. Locally, it's important for local municipalities to think about how we can handle this. So raising the age to purchase tobacco to 21, very important. We know right now the 18-year-old is the person who can bring tobacco into the school. The average high school student, when I talk to them, tells me they could get a hold of a vape, a Juul, in 5 minutes or less. They know exactly who to ask to purchase it for them. So if we can break that social connection, T21 works, absolutely. And then there's the idea of restricting or banning flavored tobacco. So if you restrict flavored tobacco, what you do is you say a store that has only tobacco in it. So think of vape shop, think of tobacco store. That's the only place that could sell flavored tobacco. And you could also ban it and say, in my city, in my town, we will not allow it to be sold. Both of these are within the rights of our city councils and our county commissions, and they absolutely can take it on. And every one of them that does helps motivate our state legislature to go ahead and do that themselves.
All right. So talking about some of the things we can do now that we have this epidemic of vaping illnesses going on around the country, I know that one of our local medical institutions are also launching a campaign, call it Don't Blow It. Essentia is launching that, and I understand that you will be presenting to some of our leaders in the community that launch.
Absolutely. Essentia Health partnered with American Lung and a few other partners, and they went into the schools and talked to teenagers about it. I mean, because who does a teenager listen to more than their peers, right? And so they have created this 10-minute video. I highly encourage you, if you're an adult that works with youth, watch this video, share it with them. It comes with a little toolkit that has like some surveys and some discussion questions. It's a great resource. Teens talking to teens, including some who are willing to talk about the fact how they got addicted and what it did to their lives. It's very powerful. It's a great message. I think it's something that's very important for us to share. I'm very excited to share it with some of our community leaders here shortly.
All right, very good. And there's also a great resource through the American Lung Association, a website if parents want to educate themselves and also educate themselves on how to maybe talk to their kids about vaping, because again, this is a relatively new thing, and it is, for everything from the products to, maybe you find your kid with products or a friend with products. But what is this website, and how do we get more information?
Absolutely. The fastest and easiest way is if you were to Google American Lung Vape Talk, it will take you to a PDF that you can download so you can keep the information. It walks you through how to talk to your kids about vaping. Don't assume that your kids won't use. We know that more than half of our kids have at least tried it. We know that across the nation, 1 in 9 students is using daily. So your kids have at least heard about it. It's important to talk to them. Let them know what you think. Let them know that you encourage them to not use nicotine, or use it as a time to talk about anything you'd like. There's a lot of healthy things. It's important. If our kids know that we care, they're more than 30% more likely to make a healthy decision. That's huge. So just sit down, have a conversation, see what they know. It might shock you, because I guarantee you they know a lot.
All right. Some good advice from Jason McCoy from Partnership for Health. Some good resources out there for parents to learn more about vaping and what's going on. And Jason, I appreciate you coming in today and sharing all this information, and onward into fall.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. There's a lot of work going on. A lot of our schools are very interested in what they can do to help. So I'm excited to be there for them.
All right. Thank you very much. Jason McCoy from Partnership for Health. And that is going to wrap up Hodge Podge for today. Tomorrow, we'll have Peter Mead and Ed Musilevich from Becker Soil and Water Conservation Office and the Natural Resource Conservation Department. And that's all head on Thursday's Hodge Podge. I'm Carol McCarthy from KDLM Hodge Podge.